Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Virginia Democratic Small Business Caucus. Oh, we've got the Small Business Caucus show live, L-I-V-E exclamation point. We're going to bring some good news to you today. So, folks, we want you just to relax and enjoy. It's so glad to be back here again, Aaron. So glad to be back here with you. So glad to be back here telling all the folks out here everything that we do, how we're pushing, getting things done for Democrats all across the country in Virginia. And first, I want to also take the time to say it's Woke Wednesday. Stay woke because it's better than being asleep. You have got to be ready to go because let me tell you, there's a lot of folks out there doing things that are not in your interest. We need you to vote. We need you to stay connected as far as your state and local politics and your national politics, just so you know what's going on. But before we get into it today, and before we start talking to all of our small business owners, and all of the other our friends and family and associates that's out there, we want to be able to do one thing first, and that's to introduce my co-hostess, the interim chair for the Louisiana Democratic Party Small Business Caucus. And there she is on screen. I see her. Hey, Erin, what's going on?
Hey, Mark. Hey, everybody. Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday.
I missed y'all last week. I missed y'all last week. I'm back in Baton Rouge. I'm tuning in. We've got some stable connectivity. We got power. So we're in business.
Good.
We're in business.
I am so glad that you're doing better. I know you had to do a little bit of traveling. I know you're not in the Witness Undercover program, but I'm not going to reveal where you are, but I know you went someplace where you could have power, air conditioning, and do something until better things start happening for all of our friends. And really want to take the time right now just to say, we love you down there in Mississippi and Louisiana and all the other states, part of Alabama. You know all the different places, Aaron, that have been affected by Ida. And then, of course, that after effect from Ida all the way up the East Coast, all the way up to New York. So everybody has been affected by that. We just want to know that we're doing everything we can do on our end. And I know Democrats are doing everything they can do, President Biden and Vice President Harris, to make sure that all the services and the things that they can provide as soon as possible happen there. I'm just glad to see you back. I really am. Tell me more, Aaron. What have you experienced, and what sort of things did you need to do just to kind of get yourself situated?
Yeah, well, Mark, here in Louisiana, it's not the first hurricane. Of course, we've experienced Katrina, Gustav, Andrew, so many, right? But this time around, Ida took the power out.
Took the power out.
Completely wiped grids out. And, truly that required for us to, power up generators or to get out of Dodge, right? It's really hot in Louisiana. So those that are elderly, those that are with kids, we had to put ourselves in better comfortable conditions. There are still many without power, unfortunately. So we are in the crux of response, and of course working to just get the power on and get people access to their homes so that they can do those damage assessments and position themselves to start to rebuild and recover. As for me, thankfully I didn't have any major damage to my home. But that's just not the case across the board. As far as just access to the stores and things of that nature, it's limited resources here. My service has been spotty, but we're working through it. I'm so grateful for the leadership, John Bell Edwards and all of the councilmen and councilwomen that are, binding together. Of course, Homeland Security, FEMA, and the president, they were prepared and they pulled the triggers on getting resources on the ground. And we have a lot of help. Help is here. So truly grateful for that alone. And got a long road ahead of us. We really do. But we are doing everything that it takes to get people back into their homes and to just help them to adjust, to this new way of life. After Katrina, we knew that life would never be the same. Same thing here with Ida. Life will never be the same. But we are making the best of it and picking up the pieces so that we can just move forward with life.
Well, that's something that I don't know how to say it other than Aaron. Like you said, there's been a lot of people up here who wanted to help out with that. And it's just been terrible. As you know, my family is from that area too, who I have lots, probably more relatives down there in New Orleans and Plaquemines Parish, Port-au-Hesse. Not homeless where that water hit direct, but I did hear Plaquemines Parish hit a lot. But one thing I just want to say, I'm glad you're okay. I've checked on family down there. The family's okay. Everybody's just dealing with having to, go someplace where, they can survive, because 90+ degrees of humidity and no power is not a good thing, especially for the little ones or the older ones. It's just not good. But anyway, we're working it out, and I know you're working it out. So I'm glad you're okay. Thank you for coming back online with us here on Woke Wednesday, here on the VADSBC show, live, exclamation point. We're glad to have you here and glad to see you looking good as usual. Love it. And so all I want to say now, Aaron, is let's also just give a shout out to the folks who are out there trying to do what they need to do as far as this pandemic is concerned. We're going to move right into that next. We're juggling a lot of balls here. Just folks need to continue to mask up, get their vaccinations, do what they need to do, social distance and everything else. I just want to keep people safe and keep them, alive and woke and ready to do what they need to do in order to defend their rights, here in the United States, where we are definitely under siege in some ways as Democrats, both on the health point and also on our rights as far as voting rights and other things like that. We'll get into that a little bit later, but I'm glad to see you back. What I want to talk about a little bit next is voting rights. Aaron, I wore this shirt again, which is all about this is what democracy looks like. This is what voting rights are about, because voting rights are fundamental. They are foundational to our democracy. I will keep harping on that until we get legislations passed, just to let people know that we can't move ahead. Listen, if we want to elect somebody in office, you got to have the right to vote. If you want to change things and get the right policies in office, you got to have the right to vote. And you got to make sure nobody's messing with your vote after you vote, right?
Show you right. For sure.
Show you right. They are foundational to democracy. If you don't have voting rights, there's a problem. And we've got two big bills out there, and I keep hammering away at it. We're going to hammer away at it until they get passed, as we do this every week, just because there's other folks out there who may not understand the importance of this. I told you there a couple of weeks ago, they had the March On for Voting Rights big rally in Washington, D.C. Of course, it happened back on the 28th. That's okay. That's an older chart that you put up there, but you had, about 50,000 people out there, and a lot of our representatives and different activist groups and all kind of organizations, from labor to everyone else, who were saying, hey, we need to protect these voting rights. And we need to make sure. Say it again.
My daughter traveled from New York to DC to participate in that march. So pretty proud of her, for doing that. Now, Mark, did you give me a t-shirt?
I did not get you a t-shirt, but I can get you a t-shirt. and I will get you a t-shirt, because you know there's plenty of t-shirts left out there. When you go out there in the Washington, anywhere on the mall, those different vendors and things, that's still a big thing. Plus the job is not done. Even once it's done, you got to keep making sure things stay in place, or else we're back in the situation where we are now. We don't want our children or our grandchildren having to deal with this, so we need to make sure we get it done right. And by the way, I heard you about your daughter. I yelled out there, "Hey, has anybody seen Aaron Porche's daughter?"
She was there. She was doing it.
No, nobody answered back, but it was 90+ degrees, humidity, and lots of people and a lot of loudspeakers. So I tried, but I didn't see her. Next time we have to have a meetup when we get out there. If I know she's coming.
I'll make sure that happens.
So let me tell you a little bit about the thing that we really need to get done with voting rights, and that's the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. That is H.R. 4. A lot of people either know it as the Voting Rights Act or the John Lewis Act, or they call it H.R. 4. What that really is about is a bill that establishes criteria for state and political subdivisions must have pre-clearance. Essentially, it puts pre-clearance, which got gutted out of the existing Voting Rights Act, and it made it so states can make changes anytime they want to and do all sort of voter suppression activities. And those voter suppression activities are what it is that is causing the problem, or all the things that I won't go into it that was things were trying to happen in the 2020 election with our folks on the other side of the aisle, basically trying to do all sort of things in order to make your vote not count. For example, some of the things it's going to improve, it's going to modernize the Voting Rights Act for determining discrimination. It's also make sure that's going to be in all the states and localities. It's going to declare that any changes to voting rules on any level need to go at least 180 days before an election, as they go through a pre-clearance process. And it also gives the government more authority to send in federal observers to monitor jurisdictions for potential risks of discrimination at the polls during voting. Right now, there's about 400+ voting suppression legislation that is out there in almost all 50 states, at least 43. And so you've got all these different things that are taken away. This is not a particular thing for one group or the other. This is important to all Americans. I don't care how you vote. You get to go in and you get to vote for who you want to vote for without any obstruction, without any things that would cause you not to be able, to be able to vote. And when it's time to vote, make sure that you're able to vote with no obstruction and everything else that you need to have in order to cast the vote for the candidate you want to support. So they rightfully have named this after John Lewis, former congressman who's passed a few months ago, because this is something that they fought for in the 60s to make sure that we had free and full voting in this country. It's very important. And the kickoff was August 28th. There will continue to be activities and more activities all over the country, because that voting rights march just didn't happen in Washington, D.C. It happened all over the country in a number of different cities. Please register to vote. Please call your congressman or congresswoman and tell them that you support H.R. 4, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. That is your first call to action, and every call to action until it gets done, that's the least you can do. Call your congressman and say, I'm supporting that. Now, the second thing, I got one more for you, is H.R. 1, which is called the For the People Act, which is a comprehensive bill that basically covers and ensures beyond pre-clearance that everyone is going to be able to have expanded access to voting, same-day voting registration, 2 weeks of early voting, banning purging of the polls, restoring what was in the 1965 Act, and making sure that that's there when we're talking about the pre-clearance, which we talked about before. There's finance reforms like banning foreign money and other loopholes that are in there. Plus, they're pumping up election security, independent commissions to prevent gerrymandering and other sort of things that happen even prior to you even being able to vote, determining who's going to be able to vote, who's going to get what, as far as the census was talking about, so that you don't have localities actually grouping all people into one area. So instead of having one or two, or maybe you would rightfully have three congressmen, they basically will stuff certain groups of people in one congressional district. And therefore, that means less votes for you in the House of Representatives. They also are providing grants to states to be able to replace old voting machines. And they're also having additional auditing processes and things like that so that they can secure the election results, and also fighting against to make sure that localities don't have the state government coming in and basically packing those commissions with their people and basically trying to overturn an election. Even once you go through voter suppression, once you win, what they're trying to do at that point is say, hey, you know, that's part of the big lie. Hey, something happened. Even though last time we went through court, no courts found that there was any problems at all. Definitely nothing of any significance at all that affected the outcomes of any elections. But this act, H.R. 1, is called For the People Act because it's meant to make sure that the For the People Act of 2021, that once you vote, your vote is going to be secured, and additional things that basically make an even playing field for everyone in all 50 states when it's time to vote, because it's federal legislation. Right now, you've got people doing all kind of crazy things in all states. And that's not coming from the Democrats, we can assure you. So this is important. Call to action number 2. Tell your congressperson that For the People Act, H.R. 1, that you support it, and that you want to make sure that these 2 bills get passed. Two call to actions. Well, you can just say it's 1 maybe, because really it's all about voting rights. But voting rights, call to action. If you want less work, just call it 1, but just do 2 things when you do it. Aaron, is there anything you want to add to that?
Hey, listen, the words of Dr. Fergie, voting is a right, not a privilege. So take action, get an understanding of what's happening, what your stance and position is, and decide today. Decide today how you want to vote and show up and cast your vote.
You said it. You said it, and we're for it. And we want you to do your call to action to make sure that gets done. So that's your first call to action. Let me give you your second call to action that's related to that. Go check your voter registration and make sure that you are registered to vote. You don't want any surprises when it's time for you to go vote. Now, here in Virginia, we got elections every year, so we don't get a break. So, you know, once you're registered to vote, still, I just go and check. Plus, you know, Virginia's got some pretty progressive voting laws, and no obstruction, early voting, all kind of stuff that gives the clearest ability for everybody to get out there and vote. But listen, Virginia's only 1 state. There are how many other states? 49. And we want to make sure all other 49 states have the right to vote. And from a small business perspective, let me tell you why that's important. The people are small. The people are small businesses, and small businesses are the people. And when we need certain things passed to help us out, like the American Rescue Plan and infrastructure things and other things that small businesses really depend on and that the country depends on, if their voting rights are obstructed, then how do they support the people who support their policies if they're unable to vote? So this is an American issue, and it's a small business issue. I think I haven't said enough, but I think I'm going to leave that alone, Aaron, and move on to the next. We only got an hour here, right?
Right.
So now that we've talked about voting rights, let's talk a little bit also about some very exciting things that get ready to happen in Virginia. I did tell you guys, Virginia has voting every single year. Federal, statewide, local, or either state representatives. There's an election every year of some sort that's happening in Virginia. So you need to be prepared to vote. And why that's really important is because folks who are out there in other states, I apologize. This broadcast is going all over the country, all over the world. And what they need to know is they need to vote in local elections. You want to make sure that things happen so that we're able to get people in there that affect things that are affecting voters in different localities. When they don't like different laws are being passed by their state legislators, then guess what? They need to vote and make sure that Democrats are in there controlling their state legislators, and also as their governor and lieutenant governors and attorney generals and delegates and all the other positions, as well as on your local government for your mayor or either, your chair of your council for your particular locality. So it's important that you make sure you're registered to vote and make sure that we have people in there that support the policies that support all Americans, and particularly the democratic ideals that are out there where we have a big tent. We want everybody to participate, no matter where you come from. Your vote matters. Absolutely. Is that not right, Aaron?
Listen, my vote matters. I know it. That's exactly why I show up. And
your vote matters. So I'm telling you, get out there and vote. We need you. From the age of 18 on up, every time, every election, vote. Okay, so here's the other thing we're going to talk about. In Virginia, like we said, we've got a fantastic race that's out there now. And we've got some great candidates that are out there from a Virginia statewide perspective. Oh, yeah, let me tell you who they are. We've got our candidate for governor, which is Terry McAuliffe. Yo, Terry, get out there and get it done. We've got Lieutenant Governor Hala Ayala, and she is the first woman lieutenant governor and the first Latina, lieutenant governor that's running as well. And then, of course, we have Attorney General, which is Mark Herring. And Mark Herring's been out there fighting the battle now for a couple of different, I think Mark might be working on his 8th year if he gets in there again. So he's won 2 or 3 times, at least 2. So we need him in there to continue to protect the things that we need done from our Attorney General here in Virginia. So for all the folks in Virginia, all the folks who may be out there want to support people who are in Virginia, these are our statewide candidates. We also have delegates that are running. And we're going to try to maybe be able to speak to some of those folks later, maybe have them on the show and talk a little bit if we can get them on. It's tough because they're out there doing the hard yeoman work. They're hitting the streets, knocking doors, talking to people. Like, we ain't got time to come on here and yap with you, Mark. We got voters to talk to. Okay, but they're doing a fantastic job. And plus, everybody knows Terry McAuliffe. Terry McAuliffe is actually ex-governor. I don't think you actually lose it once you're governor. I think you still get that honorific even once you get out of office. So Governor Terry McAuliffe is running for governor again. So I guess he'll be Governor Droit, how you say it in French, 2 times. And he'll become governor again. We like Terry. Whenever you get a chance to talk to Terry, you'll find out, or to go YouTube and you'll know exactly why people like Terry McAuliffe. He doesn't mess around. He's done fantastic things here in Virginia. So we're gonna talk a little bit about. I talked a little bit about the American Rescue Plan, things that were out there like the Paycheck Protection Program, PPP, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. This is all SBA federal stuff. Loans that are out there for people, for small businesses that are trying to be able to scale their businesses and stay in business. That's been put out there by Democrats and put out there and improved by President Biden and his administration. You've got the shuttered venue operation that's out there for a lot of the movie theaters and what's that where they have all those shows in New York. They have it on Broadway. But that also means that Broadway is not the only place. There's movie theaters and show houses everywhere. COVID's kind of shut all that down, and we're trying to help those businesses to come back. Same thing for people that have SBA debt relief out there. And of course, the most important thing that we all love is the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. There's been so many businesses that have been adversely affected or gone out of business because of COVID and because of not being able to have the customers that they have and just couldn't basically make it through that process. But that Restaurant Revitalization Fund has been important to keeping a lot of people, not just new businesses that are trying to get started. Matter of fact, I went to an event with Terry McAuliffe at someone who had just opened their business and it was a restaurant. I think it was an Ethiopian restaurant in Woodbridge as COVID began. So could you imagine that, opening a brand new small business restaurant and someone tells you, hey, we got to shut everything down. Whoa.
That's tough.
That's tough. That's tough. But they are still there. They've benefited from the program. We got to have them on as well, Aaron. We got to get them on so people can talk to some of these people who've actually gone through this. And there's been some businesses, sad to say, restaurants that have not made it. But hopefully we can get them to come back with some of the other things that are happening. And of course, you guys, everybody knows about the infrastructure bills that are out there, the one that got passed in the House. And second one has the physical infrastructure. They're trying to get that by in the Senate, but they also have the human infrastructure bill that President Biden and Vice President Harris have out there to help put in things like child care and other different things. That's infrastructure, but more people-related infrastructure. So we definitely need all these things, and we need people to vote. So we've got a lot to deal with here. So folks, don't get tired, get motivated. And if you do get tired, I'm trying to think of what's the lady's name? I'm sick and tired of being tired. She said that, but she said, Fannie Lou Hamer, I'm sick and tired of being tired, but guess what? I'm not done. You can't get tired. You have to continue to be motivated, because there's millions of people across the country, in your state, in your locality, who are working to make all these things I talked about happen. So remember, your call to action, number 2, is get out there and support the HR 1, which is the For the People Act. Get out there and support and call your congressman for HR 4, which is the John Lewis Act. Get out there and make sure you're registered to vote so you can vote for all those things that you want. And if you're living in Virginia, you've got 3 fantastic candidates that will be happening on November 2nd. Terry McAuliffe, Hala Ayala, and Mark Herring. So I've said my piece for now before we bring on our super duper guests, somebody who's been getting it done for a lot of years. I'm happy to have him on. I'm proud to say he's a very good friend of mine, and I've just been impressed with the work that he's been doing for many, many years. And the thing that we're talking about, my good friend, an excellent Democrat, an excellent fighter for all the ideals that I've been talking about, is Robert Haley. He's currently chair of the Virginia 11th Congressional District. That congressional district is where Congressman Jerry Conley is. And also he's a member of the Democratic Party Steering Committee, helping to make decisions at an executive level for the party. And also he's one of the founders for this very caucus, the Virginia Democratic Small Business Caucus. He and Tom Greason, they're the ones who told me about this. Says, Mark, get in here, man. We need some help. What are you doing sitting on the sideline? I was like, Coach, I need to put on my helmet. He said, you don't need a helmet. Get in here. Anyway, so I got in there. Bob said, hey, you know what I need you to do? Go do this, this, and that. And anything else you can think of while you're at it. Just get it done. And that's Bob. Bob is fantastic. And also, let me tell you a little more about Bob before we talk about it. He's an Air Force Academy graduate. So he's got some bona fides. He's also an Air Force retired combat person. He's a combat veteran. And he is he also has advanced degrees from USC, Marymount. He's also got a law degree. What else does this guy do? All of this, and he's still out there fighting. And he's a technology guy to boot in program management and business development. Without further ado, I want you all to put your hands together, because we got one of the fighters out there for the people, getting it done here on Woke Wednesday on VADSBC Show Live, Robert Bob Haley. Hey, Bob, how you doing, man?
Good. Great to have you.
Hello, everybody. I'm glad to be here. Feel free to call me Bob. That's what I go by. And let me just say, starting out, that I endorse HR 1 and HR 4, and look forward to seeing both of those passed. And it does my heart good to sit here sit here and watch you guys push those two bills, because they are absolutely critical to the way forward in this country. You know, all these states where they're trying to take all the voting rights away from our constituents. You know, this is where those bills will blunt those efforts, and so
Absolutely.
they're the most. To me, they're the most critical bills that are going to be passed by this Congress. So anyway, so I'm glad to be on board with both of you. This sounds like this is obviously a very exciting program. So what can I tell you? Do you have some questions for me, or do you want me to kind of recount 20 years of activism, or where do we go from here?
Bob, I'm going to give you a choice. You tell me what you'd rather do first, because I definitely got something for you I want to ask you. But what would you rather do? Because this is a laid-back show, as you can tell. Everybody's comfortable, and we folks know each other. We want to make it informal but informative. So what would you like to do? We're here for it.
Let me say a few words, first of all, about the Small Business Caucus. The Small Business Caucus was spun out of an organization called the Democratic Business Council. And that organization basically created a separate entity, and then we collected membership under that entity, and wound up being recognized by the state party as the organization that would do outreach to business for the Democratic Party of Virginia. And so I was a chair for a little while. And then Tom Greason took it over from me, and that was when I moved over took over the 11th Congressional District. And then Mark Kennedy stepped up, and he's still creating all the dynamics that we've seen here tonight. So thank you very much, Mark. Aaron,
thank you, Bob, and
Tom, for being here with us. So I can say a few words about the 11th. The 11th Congressional District. There's 11 congressional districts in Virginia, and the 11th. While our number is 11, we are not the 11th. Okay. Matter of fact, we like to think of ourselves as the first. So, and that's because year after year, the voters in the 11th come out and vote, and we produce basically at the top of voter turnout among the congressional districts. So I'm really proud of our district, and of course Jerry Conley is our congressman. You know, and with a leader, an incumbent congressman like Jerry Conley, our enthusiasm is just great. So I don't know. Do you have some of the? I gave you some charts. Do you have a?
Yeah, we sure do. We sure do. Matter of fact, Bob, you know how it is. This is live TV or live internet, so you're going to have phones ringing and stuff like that. Aaron's got some charts.
I can overtalk phones. So, but anyway, the depiction of it. You know, we're up here in northeastern. The only congressional districts that's east of us is the 8th. Okay,
is the 8th, right? That's the one that I'm in.
And the 10th is to the west. So
okay.
And we're a kind of a north-south jurisdiction. We've got Fairfax, most of Fairfax County, a big chunk of Prince William County, and we have all of Fairfax City. Those are our three jurisdictions, and we have members on the committee from those three jurisdictions. Now, just a couple of words about membership. The membership of a congressional district committee sits also on the state central committee. Okay. And the chair, like myself and like yourself as a caucus chair, sit on the state steering committee. And so that kind of gets you into the governing body of the state. And so that's a big role that a congressional district committee has, is participating in the direction of the party for the state. So and that's a big piece of what we do. Then the other way, of course, our most important thing that we do is get our congressman reelected every 2 years. So that will be in 2022 and not 2021. So as I pointed out to an individual who said, I think maybe I'd like to run for Congress. So 2022 is the 2022 is our next year is the year, and that's the most important thing that this committee does is get our congressman reelected.
And if I could jump in there for a second, Bob, you're very right, because everything that happens now is going to affect 2022. That's why that voting rights legislation is so important, because without the voting rights legislation, if it suppresses votes for the House in 2022, then that could make it so our competition could take over the House. And we want to make sure that House stays in the hands of the Democrats. And then if that rolls, it can also affect, obviously, as you well know, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but just for our audience that's out there, that also affects the presidential election in 2024. So it's important, why we were talking about earlier, that voting rights legislation gets passed.
Absolutely.
So that we can keep both houses, the House and the Senate.
Absolutely. Now, just to kind of give you and this is some more stuff about the 11th itself and other congressional district committees too. There's not a lot of people on the Congressional District Committee. Ours has a total of 30, and they come to the Congressional District Committee in several ways, which I don't have time to go into right now. But Democrats participate via a reorganizing convention every 4 years. In pulling the committee together. So anyway, our 3 jurisdictions. We have people from all 3 jurisdictions. We have for the most part, we have all of our members are people with demonstrated leadership, whether in their own local committees, within the county committee and the Senate committee. And so it's a hardworking a group of very active individuals that are always there and can always be counted on. It makes it easy for somebody like me to be their chair. So you can go ahead and run through some more of those slides, and I can maybe point. Those are just some words about who we are. Go ahead to the next slide. And this one shows that, as I said before, you see Jerry Connolly's picture there. Our primary purpose, the most important, get him reelected, every 2 years. So go ahead to the next slide. Okay, these are some other things about what we do besides the responsibilities we have to the state party and to reelecting our congressman. We have oversight responsibility for the county committees and the city committees. And we take those roles very seriously. So go ahead. And also we do things like we participate in the 4-year party platform. We're very active in resolutions on issues of the day and making sure all that happens. Now this is just a good depiction, I think, of our organizational structure. It shows that different entities. I've mentioned Fairfax, Prince William, and the city of Fairfax. We have what we call ex-official members. They're like the governor if he resides in our district. And certain people like Eileen Philicorn is on this committee. Is a speaker of the House. And then we also have one other category for outstanding people who have decided for one reason or the other. We have a category called emeritus members, and while they're non-voting members, they can still participate with us and attend our meetings, and their voices are heard. So, well,
that's a good thing that you're explaining this, because a lot of people, just folks who may not be directly involved with the party, since we're giving a little bit of the Democratic Party of Virginia structure, is that as a congressional district chair, you are basically, and the people who are in the central committee that you mentioned there are all people that are voted in by those particular areas as to people who are actually working within the Democratic Party of Virginia as the greater body and as well as the steering committee. So central basically is what that's called for all the people who are voted in, and the steering committee are the CD chairs and the caucuses. So that's good education for people, because a lot of people don't know that. I mean, it's not like they take time to find out, but they just found out from you.
Absolutely. So you can see that we do have these slides here. We hope to make these slides available in the near future, you know, for our own members to take them out to their own local committees and give a talk or presentation about what we do, you know, who we are and what we do. Now, these are some of our ex-official members. You can see there with a nice photo of most of them. So just go to the next chart. And these are those members. These are those members that are from Fairfax County on our committee, and you can recognize some of the faces there. You know, at least you and I do, Mark. Okay.
Well, you know, just the other week we had Brian Graham, who's chair of the Fairfax County Democratic Committee, on, and of course we got you now.
Right. He's a member. He's a member of the 11th, and a valued member of the 11th.
Right.
So go to the next chart. And these are our members from down in Prince William County and Fairfax City. On the left, it's Prince William County. On the right, it's Fairfax City. At least that's the way I'm looking at it anyway. So we have some really, really talented people on the 11th Congressional District, and people who are prominent in their own local parties, you know, in city committees. So if you're going to some of we have events, our primary events is, our one big primary event is not only a fundraiser for us, but it's also an award ceremony, and that's a Sturtevant where we honor labor. Our Sturtevant, normally it's a brunch. So we have a great time there. It's well attended. We have people from all across our jurisdictions come out, and we look forward to, probably we'll have that the next one after the first of the year, sometime maybe February or March. And
fantastic.
So go ahead to the next chart, please. And this is my last chart. This is a depiction of our members along with some of our elected officials. This was done at a Sturtevant Awards brunch. As you can see, I think David Border's picture is there, standing right next to Jerry Conley, and I think I'm in the back corner somewhere or another. And so that was just a great event where, you know, all the enthusiasm, and that was about, I think, in the year, maybe just a little bit after the Women's March. You know? Okay. So anyway, we are part and parcel with, you know, knee deep in Democratic Party politics and everything that's going on at the Democratic Party of Virginia. You know, all the people, we know them all first name basis, as well as first name basis with all the local people. So we're the linchpin between the top of our party and the bottom of our party.
Well, the only other people we didn't show because there wasn't enough room was all you people that are out there that go and vote and volunteer and make all this happen.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, it is the people, the precinct captains. You know,
that's right.
The precinct captains, the people that get out there and work and knock on doors and make phone calls and send out postcards. Those are the people doing the real work. Okay.
And all those early voters sending in their voting ballots, all those people braving the sun, the rain, or whatever it may be to get out there and vote for their candidates. We just want to tell you, we appreciate what you do, because I try to tell people all the time, oh, what is my one little vote, or what are this one little door matter that I knocked on? I said, listen, there are millions, hundreds of thousands of people who are doing that, because it takes a whole lot of raindrops to fill an ocean. But once all those raindrops hit, boom, you've got a powerful force. So folks, don't miscount your power. Your power is where all this comes from.
Amen.
You, we, the people.
Amen. Amen.
I'm getting down off my soapbox and run over here. Hey, Bob, that was a fantastic overview of the party, and I don't think anyone's ever done that before, and that I've talked to, and I appreciate you doing that. And that actually happens in all the congressional districts.
You hope to do it again in other videos, but thank you very much for having me on board here with you, and it was exciting for me to listen to you promote our ticket for this year, our statewide ticket, and these two, HR1 and HR4. Those bills are critical. So
they are critical.
Yes.
And one of the things that also is coming up in the Fairfax County Democratic Committee, just for the local folks who are out there, and I think even more than the local people can get in, because it's going to be a virtual Jefferson Obama dinner that's coming up.
And so the 12th. That's
September the 12th.
Yeah, so that's Fairfax County,
Mm-hmm.
Fairfax County Democratic Committee, and that's their event. And they're going to have the statewide ticket there too.
And the whole statewide ticket will be there. And I would be remiss, being a Mount Vernon Democratic Committee member, which falls underneath the Fairfax County Democratic Committee. We've got an ice cream social coming up too. So I just want to put that out there. That's right. 44 years in running. So we've been at it a while.
I love that event. That's a great event. So, I always enjoy, I live in Reston, Virginia. So, So trekking over to Mount Vernon, to get that, but I love to do that. So anyway,
well, it's not going to be virtual, Bob. It's going to be live. They're going to have all ice cream bars wrapped up and all that stuff, and nothing. It's going to be COVID friendly outside and everything else. So we've got some great people that support that every year, as you know.
Yes. I know. I enjoy attending that event. So I expect to be there this year too.
One of the things I want to ask you about, Bob, is also what you see going on right now. If I were to ask you what is the most important issue besides voting rights that you would like to convey to people, here on the VADSBC show live, what would it be? What are some of the things that you would really like to leave people with, to say, hey, this is something you really ought to pay attention to?
Well, I can't do you one better than HR1 and HR4.
Okay.
Those are the most important things. I don't know. There's probably a lot of gamesmanship going on in Congress about, what goes first or what gets done first. But to me, those bills, voting rights is absolutely critical to our party nationwide. It's not just Virginia. It's nationwide. And the other thing is that every year we have elections here in Virginia. Okay, so doing it over and over and over again. Let's crank up that old enthusiasm and let's get out there and make sure I heard you earlier say you reminded people to check your registration. Make sure you check your registration. And it's, we're pretty good in this state, but other states, it's really important to check your registration because not every state Democrats control the election boards. So we're different. Because we've got a Democratic governor, we have 2 out of 3 on all the election boards. So it makes a lot of difference, and we can defend our voting rights. And so that's the difference between us and, say, Georgia or Florida or maybe Arizona. Or Texas. Texas, where they are really drilling down and trying basically knock people off the voter rolls, as in my view. So anyway, those are. Let's get out and vote. Let's make sure you're registered. Vote early, the 17th. September the 17th, you can go and vote. So
that's right. September 17th. It's just right around the corner. People can start voting. But also there is a huge amount of small businesses that are in your district. In this area, we tend to have a lot of government contractors because of its proximity to DC, but all the other type of small businesses that are are related to that and other sort of commercial businesses. What are some of the things that you would advise small businesses to do to get their interests met? And there's various different constituencies in small business, but what do you think are some of the biggest challenges in your mind that you may have seen in your past or recently about what small businesses need to do in order to continue to sort of make it through this period of COVID, and what they need to do if they need to talk to Congressman Conley and sort of things he's involved in, just something small business concerned?
Well, I'll tell you, there's a, be involved. I know that if you're running a small business, that you tend to focus in on your business, and because there's so much work for small business people, but it's important to be involved in some way with a local party. For instance, in Northern Virginia, we have this Northern Virginia Democratic Business Council. You can Google it as DMBIZ, and that's a great organization. It's been around now for almost 20 years, and it's a great place to go and meet other small businessmen, like yourself. And a lot of small business people do that and show up at they normally have a monthly meeting, and I recommend being involved there. And of course your caucus, your caucus is a great thing to be involved with, and you can give them information about how to join. So anyway, it's www.vadsbc.com. And,
that's the one. Absolutely. Go ahead, Bob.
But it's really important for you to stay in touch with the party that's going to help you, and will also, if you've got issues that you have a listening ear in your local delegates or your local senators, and even your congressman too. So so if you're a little if you're politically active a little bit, it sort of opens the doors in my mind.
And we've had a lot of the small business folks who've also went on to be involved in political office, or this local, state, or federal. So a lot of what the caucus tries to do is support members who actually are in that area, who want to get involved in that, or either support candidates across the state or in their locality. So all that's important. And you mentioned DMBIZ. We've got a group down in Chesapeake, and we have a group in Tidewater. And I don't want to forget the folks up in Shenandoah that we went to see then. And we also have different people, obviously, across the state and all the congressional districts. So we really owe you a lot, Bob, you and Tom Greason. And
don't forget about the government entities that can help you too.
Correct.
SBA, SBA is out there, and the state has a lot of support, that can be provided to small business people too. So there are, and the colleges and universities provide, especially training, but they also provide liaison to lots of, and internship programs too. So there's all
of that. We're out there trying to get some interns involved now in the Small Business Caucus. You may have seen that little "we're hiring" thing. Actually, we're not exactly paying people money, but we are giving them good internship and volunteer experience that they can get and take it back out to later on in their careers. And matter of fact, I don't want to leave out Andrew Lockman, who was on our show last week, who is the current chair of the Democratic National Committee Small Business Council, who really came on and talked about those things. And of course, our job is to elect Democrats. That's our primary job, and look to try to get small businesses support and provide information to our Democratic candidates. But also part of it is it's just sort of working as we can work with people of like minds to make sure that all the constituencies of small businesses are out there. And I talk about it on our webpage African-American business, Latino business, Asian business, woman-owned business, veteran-owned, LGBTQ owned business, as well as millennial business with our young people and our interns. So we're trying to bring them all into this so that they get out there and vote and put Democrats out there, and also help them to be able to be successful small business people or whatever walks that they have. But we got another about 5 minutes to go here, which can be a lifetime. So Bob, we're not quite done. I got one more question for you.
Oh yeah, go ahead, shoot.
Okay. Now, here's what you can tell us, being someone who's been in this business for so long. If you were to say, and I know you're going to say, and I shouldn't presume that, and you've given us a lot of great advice already, but other than the advice you've already given us, for small business owners, given where we are today and the sort of things that small businesses are faced with, if I was a person coming up to you and saying, how can I get involved with the Democrats in order to help my business to prosper and to be able to support the things that I want to support, that I see that the Democrats are doing, or even bringing new ideas in, because we're a big tent party, right?
Right.
What would you tell a young person or either a person who's just started a business?
Just starting a business.
Either a young person who's trying to get in and doesn't know anybody, or either a person who's started a business and now has a little time to maybe support some of these other activities, or wants to do it if he doesn't have time.
Well, if you need government help, okay, there's a lot of it out there, and it's just a matter of you. I know that it's very difficult for small business people, because just tending to your business is 24-hour day job.
It's more than 24 hours every day.
So there's several things you can do, besides mentioning the business organizations like the councils and the caucus and getting involved what you can locally with your party, but it is, I think that you want to establish a liaison with your local delegate. Your delegate has a small area, and they're aware of all the legislation and everything that's coming out of Richmond. Okay, they can advise. They have town halls too that you can do, and you can ask questions at those. Matter of fact, you'll probably find that every Northern Virginia delegate has periodic town halls, and so those are things you can go to and ask your question. And you can say, how do I get help with this? Okay, and they'll say, stand still after the meeting and talk to me, or talk to my legislative assistant, and you will get your name and number, and we'll get that to you. That's how you can get some personal help there. Senators do the same thing. Even your congressman does it too. So there are ways to reach through politically and get help. And so that's a way. That's what I would do. And other than just your own personal networking, through with people that work for you and who they know. When you're in a small business, basically the people that work for you are your team. I mean, a real team, and you're probably a team in the sense that everybody does a little of everything. So we know what small businesses are like, and we know that it's hard work, but we also know that there's a lot of help. For instance, I know that George Mason provides a lot of the kinds of things that we're talking about here: counseling, internships, and all of those things across the board for small business people to go to and get help and get training.
Well, Bob, if people want to contact you, how do they get in contact with you in the 11th Congressional District? Why doesn't give us your social media handles or contacts for people to be able to say, hey, I saw this guy Bob talking along with Aaron and Mark. How do I get to those Congressional District folks in the 11th Congressional District and that chairman, Bob Haley? What do I need to do?
Well, you can always ask Mark Kennedy how to get hold of me. He'll provide them. He'll provide it. But my email address is I'm HaleyR@sprintmail.com.
Okay.
And my phone number is my cell phone number is 703-864-4967. So those are the two principal way that everybody gets a hold of me. So
those are two principal ways. You guys got a website?
Yeah, and the website is, of course, the 11th Congressional District website. It is 11th Congressional Democrats.org, and that'll get you. They can also Google my committee.
Google it and get that information.
Yeah.
Well, Bob, I'm going to tell you, man, you've given more than the wealth of information to us today, and we just appreciate it. And we're at 8:01, so we like to get off as close to on time as we can. And I just have to tell you that, we want to have you back again after the upcoming election. It's coming on November the 2nd. Get out there, get registered to vote.
On your site there. So
thank you, Bob, for being here with us.
Yeah,
Bob Haley, the 11th Congressional District Chair, along with Aaron Corshey and Mark Kennedy. We're glad to have you. Come on back and see us again, Bob. We'll have you again. Aaron, take us on off.
All right.
Thank you, Bob. See you later.
Bye.
All right. Stay online, Bob.